It's time for another fast action, anything goes question and answer session. I asked for questions a couple of days ago, so let's go through them. All right, the first one is from Keith. Keith says, do you sell prints of your photos online? I'm thinking about starting to do this. Any tips? Yeah, Zenfolio looks like a really good option for that. It's something that I plan on doing, but for some reason, I tend to sometimes put the best stuff last on my schedule. The next question is from Sea Dweller. Sea Dweller, Deep Sea Sea Dweller. Hey, do you play guitar too? Nice Fender. Okay, not really. I love music. I'm just a bit challenged when it comes to making music. Still, I like having instruments and other artistic devices around to help me get inspired and to use when I'm feeling inspired, even if I'm not very good at it. Julian, how to make a half-second/1 second video at a 30 full res raw burst from V1. You can do it with Photoshop when you export a series of images and create a film strip. Then export the film strip as a single video file. I've not done this in a long time, so maybe one of my viewers can explain it better than I can. If you can, guys, comment in the comments of this video. The next question is from Michael. Michael says, how do you go about politely explaining to someone why you charge what you charge for your work, or get around the I don't know, that seems a little high remark when you give your price? Good question. I differentiate myself with my collaborative approach with the client. And they quickly realize that they don't get that with most other photographers. However, if they are still stuck on price, I invite them to work with other photographers, sometimes even based on my own recommendations of lower cost photographers. And you know what? What goes around comes around. The more referrals that I give out, the more referrals that I seem to get from other photographers. So, you know, like I said, what goes around comes around. Keith asks, do you pay to copyright your images? Do you watermark them? Okay, first of all, this is definitely a personal decision. So let me tell you about my own approach. And it is no and no. In the US, the moment you take the photo, you are the copyright holder. Paying for it and registering your copyright increases your rights to sue for damages if your image is used or misused without your consent. The next question is from Howard. Jello or pudding? Neither. I like Oreos. Let's see. Oh, Howard has a couple here. Howard says, what is the greatest misconception your fans have about you? I don't know. I'm pretty out there and honest. So, you know, that leads to few misconceptions, but maybe the greatest misconception that people have is that, let me back up. The greatest misconception that some people have is that I'm going to continue to answer their questions after they've been disrespectful to me or to my viewers. Howard says, will you have a private snap shoot as a prize where you are the model? No way. That would be a punishment rather than a prize anyway. I am such a perfectionist that I would be a pain to work with as a model, definitely. Howard says, Snap, what is the most requested question when a fan sees you in person? I haven't actually run into any viewers in person. When I meet someone new that finds out what I do, though, the most common question is definitely, what camera should I get? Cocoon Imaging asks, his questions are backwards because I'm looking at them. Anyway, that's beside the point. Cocoon Imaging says, what are your favorite shows that you like to watch? Okay, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't even have cable. But when I do turn on the TV, I probably watch more movies than shows. I definitely like documentaries the best, and Star Wars, which you guys know already. Cocoon Imaging's next question is, do you ever turn on active Dlighting? Yeah, I definitely do. I probably use it the most when I'm out hiking during the day. For me, it helps to soften that hard edge of that high contrast midday lighting. And Cocoon Imaging says, how do you shoot RAW with the D800 or any other camera? Lossless, compressed, compressed, or uncompressed, and why? I shoot in 12-bit lossless compressed because that's all I need. It saves space and I don't lose image quality. And the next one is from Chet. Chet says, nice photo. Do we have Raymond the intern to thank for this? This is a comment on the photo that I'm putting up right now that was associated with the post where I asked you guys for questions. And the answer is no. You have interval timer to thank for this photo. And, oh, interesting. Raymond asks, not Raymond the intern though, did you ever do a photo shoot with the guitar? You may have the perfect look in this photo. I have done a couple of shoots with the guitar, and I am a little bit obsessed with this look. However, it's a Snapseed filter. Don't tell anybody. Nothing too fancy. Okay, Kyle asks, do you agree with the U.S. getting involved with Syria? And do you think gangster or mobster Yoda is an appropriate costume for a 1-year-old's first Halloween? Apparently the uncle will be fully dressed as Darth Maul, but in a suit. Well, I don't talk politics. And I don't really get the gangster Yoda thing, but a 1-year-old Yoda would be pretty funny. And now that I think about it, I think I want to dress up as Yoda this year for Halloween. I gotta figure out how I can swing that. Greg asks, I'm starting to get requests from my clients who pay me for portrait work to start enhancing my pictures beyond light and color correction. It seems like Photoshop is on the horizon for me. How have others made the jump from photographer to artist? Am I ready to take on such work? Ready, schmetty. If you want to do it, do it. Colin asks, why does my Nikon DSLR, a D300S, have 3 low ISO settings below 200? This implies that the recommended lowest setting to use is 200. My understanding is that you want to use the lowest available ISO for the sharpest results. Is there any drawback to using these lower settings if the shooting conditions allow it? Yes. You lose dynamic range in the low settings. They can definitely be a lifesaver, though, for example, for slower shutter speeds in daylight. If you find that you would need to use the low settings often, then maybe a neutral density filter might be a good investment for you. It would allow you to use the base ISO, which in your case is 200 on the D300S, with reduced shutter speeds. Kambasha asks, why do my photos never look as good as the ones I see in magazines, even with perfect lighting and metering and white balance? I am even decent at Photoshop, so what am I missing? Is there some special plugin or filter they use? I shoot with D300S. Well, the photos you see in magazines take thousands and thousands of dollars and so many people and so many hours to produce, from huge lighting setups to multiple assistants and models and post-processing specialists. You know, that being said, though, I think a lot of the photos that I see in magazines are just overdone. I simply prefer a more natural look, and therefore I would probably say that your photos look better than the photos in magazines if they have a more natural appearance. Magazines are great, but, you know, don't be too obsessed with making your photos look like magazines because, I don't know, they're getting awfully processed. They're awfully perfect. Perfect is not interesting at all, in my opinion. Okay, Mike asks, would love your opinion. With several companies doing metal prints, which would you opt for the best bang for the buck? Metal prints. I'm not sure if you mean metallic paper or prints on actual metal. I've not done prints on actual metal, but for metallic paper, like Kodak and Dura paper, my prints from mpix.com look fantastic. I love them. If any of you guys have printed on metal and you want to let us know how it went, definitely comment in the comments of this video. Alex asks, how do you deal with lack of dynamic range with digital cameras? He says you probably won't have it as bad as us Canon users. I don't find DSLRs lacking these days, though. My D100 blew out virtually all the highlights, unless you took exposure compensation way down. My D800 seems to capture shadows and highlights without any trouble. Things have definitely come a long way in the past 10 years. That being said, I'm excited about what the next 10 years will bring. Andy says, tripods. Do I purchase a Manfrotto or a Vanguard pistol grip? What's your thoughts? I personally use cheap tripods from like Walmart or Target, but you know what? I don't think there's really a wrong answer when it comes to higher end tripods. I suggest trying one out in a camera shop or wherever else you can find them to see which suits you best and which you have the easiest time using, because what works for one person may be cumbersome or inconvenient to use for another. Ray says, okay, question. Going to do a night scene of city lights and traffic over a freeway with the rear and front headlights showing as a trail of light. Where should I start? Nikon D7000 and the most popular prime lenses to choose from, i.e. 85mm, 18 to 200, 50mm, 18 to 55, 70 to 200. Looking to do twilight, dark, and start of daybreak. Any advice on where to start? And also the same scenario as above, but would like to get a full or half moon in the scene. Well, okay. I think that I would start with your D7000 and the 50mm lens on a tripod. You'll need to use manual. Your shutter speed and the speed of the cars are really what's going to enable you to get the light trail and will control the length of the light trail. You'll need to experiment with slowing down your shutter speed to see where the sweet spot is for you though. As for aperture and ISO, it will be a balance because you'll need to get enough light into the camera, but as you widen your aperture, you'll be limiting your depth of field, which you actually may want. And as you increase your ISO sensitivity, you'll be introducing noise, which isn't always a horrible thing. So it'll definitely be a balance between those two. Now for getting the moon into the shot. Just lost my train of thought there for a second. Now for getting the moon into the shot. It'll just be a matter of camera position. If you want a large moon relative to the size of the cars, you will need to be as far away as possible with the highest focal length lens that you can get your hands on. If you're close up, the cars will look big, but the moon will look tiny. Now Connor asks, what lens under $500 would you recommend for portraits on a 1.5 crop sensor? A 50mm prime or the 85mm prime. 50mm for more body in the portraits, 85mm if you tend toward tighter headshots. And that's it. That's it, guys. You had some great questions this time around. Keep them coming. You can post questions to me on Facebook, in the comments of my videos, or through email. I do my best to answer everybody's questions, so please be patient when you do ask, and who knows, they might end up in one of my question of the day videos. Talk to you guys later.